Hello. Okay, let me get people over here. Is anyone here? Okay, see if people come over. Hey, okay. I'm waiting for more people to come over. I had a different video where I was trying to go live and something weird happened. Hello. Let's see. Let's see if people are coming. Wasn't the info. Oh, there you are. Okay, good. Wait, Biden made a live. Yes. Biden had his first press conference. Okay, I'm just getting people from the other room into this video. Let me see if they're coming. Okay. Looks like hello was on the other vid. Yeah, okay, cool. So you made it over. I don't know what was happening. I was setting it up differently and I did something wrong and I couldn't go live. Okay, I think people are starting to come over. Hello. Give me just a second. I'm just making sure. Okay, cool. Hi, Steve. I'm just making sure people are coming over from the other video. Okay, okay, looks like people are starting to come over. What's up? So yesterday I had to go to, this is not related to anything, but yesterday I had to go to the DMV, and it wasn't just any DMV, it was a California DMV. Sorry, yeah, I'm packing all my stuff, so my background is a little embarrassing right now. I had to go to the California DMV, and it was an absolute show. It's COVID, so they're understaffed. They had all this weird. It was an absolute show, but at least I got what I needed to get done. I was there all day. I hate the DMV. Thank you, Chris. Chris said, "Hope you all are having a great day so far." So I wanted to talk about something interesting. Really happened close to where I live, and I don't know if anyone heard about it, but there's a park close to where I live. And yes, I will break out at the end. I'll break out the ukulele and the bongos. I have the bongos right here. I don't know how to play the bongos, but you can watch me bang on them for a few seconds. Echo Park, it's a park here in Los Angeles. And as you all know, we have just a really big homeless issue in Los Angeles and just all over California, especially San Francisco and Los Angeles. So we've talked about, or I've told you about Venice Beach before. I lived in Venice Beach at the beginning of when we went on lockdown and everything, and I lived there for about 4 months. And the homeless situation there has just gotten out of control. You have to be careful where you walk. Like half the boardwalk is just lined up with tents. And even actually just the other night, I wonder if I can show it to you. Just the other night, they had a big tent, an encampment fire. They have fires that happen all the time there with the homeless encampments. And I think I took a screenshot of this. Can you see that? So this is a screenshot from my Citizen app. There was a homeless encampment fire. You can kind of see it, but this happens all the time. Where's the other one? Yeah, there's another picture. So that was Venice Beach. And this happens all the time. Anyway, where I'm going with this is, so like Skid Row is kind of a hot spot. Venice Beach is a hot spot. There's a few other little ones. Another one has been this park and it's called Echo Park. And it's in the middle. It's a very suburban area. A lot of people that live around the park actually moved there for the park because it's a really beautiful park. A few years ago, or a bunch of years ago, I can't remember exactly when, they pumped a lot of money into the park. They were trying to make it beautiful. They renovated the whole thing. Well, it's become a new, basically, haven for homeless encampments. Tents have just taken over a lot of the park. It's gotten really dangerous. Drug use, just all kinds of things. Families don't want to go there as much because they're worried for their safety and for the safety of their kids. Well, and I think this has been going on for about 10 years, but it's gotten much, much worse recently. So the city decided to go in. They want to renovate the park. So they're putting, I think, a few $1 million back into the park to renovate it, to clean it, and do all this stuff. Well, in order for them to do that, they need the homeless people to vacate. So what they did is they partnered up with this organization called Project Roomkey, and Project Roomkey it's an organization that basically helps get homeless people off the street and into a hotel during the virus or the pandemic or the lockdown, whatever it is, to keep them give them a safe place to go. So Project Roomkey, they went in there, they offered everyone a room, and a lot of people took the offer. So they gathered their belongings and they took the offer to go into a hotel room while they're doing these renovations. Well, there was also a number of people that refused. They didn't want to go into a hotel room. They wanted to stay right there. So basically what's happening is the police and the city have given them an ultimatum. They say, you have this much time to leave. If you don't leave, we're going to come in there and we're going to have to push you out, unfortunately. So that's what they're doing now. They put a huge fence around the park so no one can go in, and they're pushing people out. Well, this caused, of course, a bunch of protests around the area. It was deemed an unlawful assembly. All these social justice warriors are going. Is Echo Park the one in Venice Beach? No, Echo Park is not in Venice Beach. Echo Park is more inland in Los Angeles. I don't know exactly where it is in Los Angeles, but it's not Venice Beach. Yeah, different area. So all the protesters are mad. They're saying, you can't kick these people out. You can't. And it's like, what are you supposed to do? And that's what a lot of people don't understand. They gave them shelter. They gave them a place to go. And all these social justice warriors, they want people to stay there. But the truth of the matter is it's just squalor. It's dirty. We had in Skid Row, we had tuberculosis outbreak. We had bubonic plague that came back in some of these areas. You can't just, trash builds up. It's unsafe. There's drug use. People aren't sanitary. It's just a really bad situation. And I just don't understand the world that these social justice warriors want to live in. And the reason, and this is something interesting too, and there's a similar statistic in Venice Beach. So one of the workers, I was watching some footage of Echo Park before this happened. People were going in there and interviewing the people that lived in Echo Park. They were interviewing the people that worked there. And one of the workers said, he goes, if I had to guess, he said, I'm here every single day. I'm riding around every single day. I talk to the people. If I had to guess, I would guess that 80% of the homeless people that live in Echo Park are not from even the immediate surrounding area. They come there. It's a beautiful park. They're allowed to put their tents in there. People leave them alone. So a lot of these people that are homeless in these areas, they're coming there because they know that no one's going to bother them. They're allowed to keep their tents up. They can use drugs, a lot of them, which unfortunately, it's not everyone, but a large number of our homeless populations use drugs. And that's one of the reasons they don't want to go into housing, because they don't want rules and regulations, and they want to live on their own. And Venice Beach as well, I think it's something like 75% of the homeless people in Venice Beach are not from Venice Beach. A lot of them are not even from Colorado. So we have, and this is where California is just so bad at running itself. This is one of the ways, Washington, Oregon, California, they're both very liberal places that have very liberal policies when it comes to allowing homeless encampments or allowing people on their streets. And it almost makes it a haven for homeless people who flock to these areas. And it's no good for them. It's no good for the residents living in the areas. So that's what's happening in Echo Park. It's really interesting. I'm just reading some of these. They are limiting drop boxes too, along with allowing the state to take over local elections. Oh, wait, you're ahead of me. You mean 75% of them suffer from debilitating mental illness like schizophrenia? Yeah, a lot of them. And the homeless problem, it's a very layered problem. Yes, some people are just down on their luck for a little bit. Some people lost their housing. Some people are in between. A large number of them are severely mentally ill or have drug-induced psychosis. And a large number of them also, they don't want housing. They like where they are, and we allow it. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. And they live in conditions. Some of these areas, their conditions, they're not even third world, they're medieval, literally medieval. We had the bubonic plague. I don't even know what happened with that a while ago. I was really worried at the beginning of the pandemic that there would be a really big outbreak among our homeless population, but that didn't seem to happen. I don't know if any of you heard anything about homeless individuals and the pandemic. I know that we had in Dockweiler Beach, that's sort of in between like Malibu, Santa Monica, and more South LA. We had hundreds and hundreds of trailers that were set up to house homeless individuals who needed to quarantine. But from my understanding, that was barely used, barely. I drove by it a lot. I never saw a soul there. If SJWs can just keep them at their houses, problem solved. Exactly. And you know what's frustrating too? Thank you, Chris, for saying that. What else is frustrating is a lot of these people, they probably don't even live in that immediate neighborhood. So they're coming in there and they're protesting, but they don't live in that immediate area. They don't see what the residents there see. I guarantee you, they don't really understand what's actually happening. And when you allow this to go on, and it's weird, it's almost like there was one girl that they interviewed in Echo Park, and I was actually really shocked. She looked really young, really healthy, like probably early 20s. And she said, I don't want to live. Like, I want to dismantle the system. This is our autonomous zone. So that's basically, they're living in like, it's like an alternate little reality that some of them have created, and it's not healthy. Send them to Hawaii. I have a lot of compassion for a lot of these people. I remember one time, it was a few years ago, and I was just walking home, and there was a man, and he was in his underwear and had a makeshift cape on, and he was passed out face down on the street. And it was broad daylight. It was in the middle of a sidewalk, like in a residential area. And I was like, and I had to go across the street to walk around him. Hi, Master. I had to go around the street to walk around him. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, how do I know he's alive? Like, how do I even know this person is alive? And what if I walk past someone one day and they're actually not alive? So I called 911 and I was like, hi, there's just a man who's almost doesn't have any of his clothes on, and he's passed out in the middle of the sidewalk. And the dispatcher said, well, does it seem like he needs help? And I was like, well, he is passed out face down on the middle of the side. I would say maybe he needs some sort of assistance. I don't know. But it's just wild. Like, we walk past stuff like that all the time, and it's normal now. And that shouldn't be normal at all. That shouldn't be normal. I'm just reading, is Kamala Harris going to invite all of these illegal immigrants at the border over to her house for dinner? I doubt it. Apparently, did you see the other day, someone asked her about it, and she said, oh, I haven't been briefed on that. You mean probably the biggest crisis that's happening in our country right now, and you haven't been briefed on it? So, and also, does anyone live near the border? And you can sort of tell us what your experience is or what your thoughts on everything. If anyone lives around the border, please let us know what you think about everything or what you've been experiencing. So in San Diego, in LA, we're like 2.5 hours from the border. It's not that far away at all. And in San Diego, their convention center. So there's a huge convention center in San Diego. That's where they have Comic Con every year. It's massive. It's really pretty too. They have been housing homeless people actually during the pandemic. So they're getting the homeless people back into other shelters. Bridge shelters is what they call them. But they are going to be getting some of the children that are in some of those facilities by the border. I think they're going to start getting them this weekend, and they're going to put some of them in the San Diego Convention Center. So that's happening here. And even before that, they were already starting to bus people into San Diego. I don't know. I think they were adults. I have no idea where they went. No idea. Richie said, remember, they are calling it a challenge, not a crisis. Saki let the word crisis slip the other day. Yeah, I saw that, Richie. It's all in how you say it. It's all semantics. It's not a crisis. It's a challenge. It's just a challenge. Yeah, she did. She let it slip the other day. You know what? A part of me, I don't particularly like Jen Psaki. I think she is very condescending sometimes when she answers, and she doesn't answer anything. But in a way, I actually feel really bad for her. I do, because she has to be the face for this. She has to answer for this every single day. And as condescending as she is, as dishonest as she is, as much as she'll try to put the blame on the previous administration, I do feel kind of bad for her. Imagine you want to work for the White House. You probably dreamed about it when you were a little girl, and then you grow up, you finally get to the White House, and now you have to work for and answer for this administration, and trying to figure out how you're going to answer these questions while denying what's going on. I mean, some of it's not her choice. They're probably like, yeah, you can't talk about this or that or this. And then she has to go out there and be the face. I would actually be really mad if I was her. Richie says she wants to circle back to it. Ha ha ha. Yes, she does. Chris, I don't, but I have family in Tucson I'm worried about. Yeah, Tucson. Stop. I'm getting text messages. I'm trying to see what the name of it is. Okay, so this, Arizona, I don't know how to pronounce it. Gila, it's Gila Bend. So it's a town with only 2,000 people. Well, they have issued a state of emergency in their town because they have such few people. They only have 2,000 people, and they have basically no resources. They're already struggling because of the shutdown and everything. And they're starting to get people. They're bringing people to them. And the mayor is basically saying, oh, Gila. Thank you. Gila Bend. But their mayor is saying, we have no resources. We can't take these people. We literally have nothing. We're trying to just take care of our own people. We don't have the money. We don't have the resources. And they're saying, well, sorry, you're just going to have to figure it out. So they have declared a state of emergency. I also, and we know in the Biden administration, they keep trying to deflect this, but they've interviewed a lot of the migrants coming up. They're saying we are coming because of Biden. The migrants themselves are saying that we are coming here because of Biden. Biden is going to help us. So you can't blame it on the previous administration. And one of the first things that Biden did when he got into office was rescind, hi Glenn, one of the first things that Biden did when he got in office was basically reverse all of the orders that Trump did that actually helped everything that was going on the border. So Trump ended the catch and release, which was an incentive for a lot of people to come over the border illegally. So when you come over illegally, they claim asylum status and they're released into the U.S. They're just released and given a court date. Most of them don't end up actually showing up to the court date. And most of them, 88 to 90% of the people that come across our border illegally who claim asylum do not actually meet asylum status. And I think they know this, But if they get over the border, they're in the US, so they're fine and they don't show up at court. So Trump had it so where they would have to wait for their court case in Mexico. It was the remain in Mexico policy. And that is what Biden, as soon as he got into office, completely ended that, causing a surge. He ended that. What else did he end? They had a lot of deals with other countries in order to give them more incentive to deter people from coming. And even the Mexican president even spoke out against this and criticized Biden and said this is a direct result of Biden. Everybody knows it. I'm just looking at. I live next Masta. I live next to the airport in Rhode Island. They have been releasing full jet loads. I've met a few, been good people so far. Well, that's good. It seems like I heard they were taking some of them to Virginia and other states. Yeah, it seems like they're doing that. He ended a few Syrian lives with bombing campaign. Yeah. Hi, Sarah from Oregon. Love your videos. Oh, thank you, Calvin. Yeah, I think I even heard New Jersey. A friend of mine, and she lives along the border in Canada, and they're getting some in Canada. But my question is, what is the long term going to be? How are we going to fix this long term? We can't keep going on like this every day. And when you're promising people, that's what a lot of people don't understand. People will pay attention to our politics, and they'll take like a clip. I think I played it on a different video. There was basically a clip of Joe Biden. I think it was the primary debates, the presidential Democratic primary debates, where Joe Biden was said, yeah, I want there to be a surge at the border. Come on, man. That's what he was saying. So coyotes or other people, they'll take that clip and they'll play it for a potential buyer, and then someone hands over their whole life savings, and if they don't have the money, they basically have to pay off their debts. It's thousands of dollars. If they don't have the money, they'll basically have to pay off their debts, either along the way or once they're in the US. They do not come over the border for free. And yes, they will take clips like that. They will show them to these potential migrants or illegal immigrants, and that's how they make the sale sometimes. So it's very important what our leaders are saying and the message that they're sending across the world. Richie, all about the Democrat woke policies. Open the floodgates and watch the country die. Cruiser, one good thing that's happened since Biden got into office was having my left-leaning friends and family switching center-right after witnessing all the embarrassing gaffes and hypocrisy. Thank you, Cruiser. We don't want them here in Virginia. We have enough trouble dealing with the Democrats already have the right now. Yeah. I was just reading that. I don't know what's going to happen with that. Yeah, I will. Yeah, I agree with you, Cruiser. I mean, that's one good thing. Literally all their talking points are just dead now, all of them. And one of the main things was the kids in cages. You don't have that one anymore. They are basically proving now that they have control, all of their arguments, they're no more. You can't have an argument now. So that is pretty fun to watch the hypocrisy. And it's also kind of fun to watch the mainstream news finally have to start reporting the truth. Even some of our local news stations, they finally had to get honest about the border crisis, and they had to get honest about the Biden administration. So that's been pretty fun to watch. And then just the overall ratings, I think CNN is down like crazy. Their ratings are absolutely in the tank. They have nothing to talk about now, and they're going to have to be honest about their own party. It's so bad. Is the immigration crisis hurting Newsom in California? It's interesting. When I'm talking to people, their biggest concerns with Newsom, well, the people that I've talked to, their biggest concerns seem to be like how expensive it is, the taxes, his lockdown orders, and his overall just hypocrisy. But I will say, just for me personally, before I, sort of declared myself a Republican, that was a big thing for me. So a few years ago, before there were a few recall efforts a few years ago. This has been a thing that's been happening for a while. It's not just because of the lockdown orders. And one of my personal big things was immigration for me personally, because you walk around and you see the homelessness increasing, you feel how expensive it is, you see that we have no money, our infrastructure is terrible, our roads in LA are awful. So it's bad infrastructure, it's homeless people everywhere, trash everywhere, uh, graffiti on a lot of places. And I'm looking at all of this all around me. And then I look at Gavin Newsom's Instagram. Like I said, this was before the lockdown. I look at his Instagram and he's in Mexico doing a photo op talking about, sanctuary cities and things like that. So I think for a lot of people, it might not be their top, but for me, especially, that was my top. How? Because you can't be a welfare state with open borders. I can't remember who said that. Somebody said that, but you can't. And that's what we see in California. It's like we have all these problems. Why are you in Mexico? Are you the governor of California or Mexico? I'm confused. I love Mexico. I love Mexican people, but we have a lot of problems here that maybe we should fix before we start allowing people to just flood in. Um, but I will say, now that we have a border crisis, I just haven't been out with people, talking to people in California. But I will say that now that we are having this crisis and people are being like bussed in to San Diego and other places, that convention center is right downtown. I mean, people walk by that all the time. It is right in the middle. Like, it's going to be very real for people. So I would imagine that if it wasn't a big deal a month ago, it's a big deal now. It's always been a big deal for me. The US can't be a welfare state for the entire rest of the world. I know. And think about this. When I don't know if you saw, so the Dalai Lama almost got canceled a few years ago talking about immigration. So a few years ago, Europe had a huge immigration crisis. Remember, they brought in all of those refugees. They brought in like mass numbers of refugees all at once. And when you do that, unfortunately, when you pull a lot of people from third world countries, unfortunately, they have different customs. So it's not always going to be a nice, smooth transition when you're bringing in that many people all at once and you're not assimilating them and they're not assimilating themselves. Well, anyway, the Dalai Lama, I want to say he was in Sweden. I don't know, but he was in Europe and he was giving a talk. And he said the proper way to bring in refugees is to bring them in, help them, teach them, give them skills, and then help them go back to their countries so they can rebuild. Like, how are you going to have, when everyone is leaving certain countries? And that's the problem. All these countries that these people are leaving in mass numbers, nobody's moving to those countries. Everyone's moving away from them. So how is that sustainable? And wouldn't it be helpful if people learned skills and went back to their countries and rebuilt and made their countries great? And that way you preserve your culture, you preserve everyone's culture, and you still have a place to go back to. Like I've always said, help the ones near you. Once that is done, okay, this is Crispy. I like what you're saying. Crispy K, like I always said, help the ones near you. Once that is done, there is some surplus, then feel free to help others, but you have to help your own first. Exactly. What's the end game? What is it going to look like when people just keep pouring over? And you would think, like, why wouldn't Biden say, you know what? I want people to surge the border, but let's just get out of this thing. Let's get our kids back to school. Let's get businesses open back up. Let's be okay. Let's get this thing under control, and then let's start. Like, he couldn't even do that. They just couldn't help themselves. And I heard that I have no idea, but I heard that one of the reasons they did all of those executive orders so quickly is that they were hoping, and unfortunately they're right, they were going to do it so quickly and then hoping that people would forget about it and move on. The news cycle would forget about it and move on, and then it would be in the past and we would forget how radical everything that they did was. With no borders, that's not a country, as Trump said. Yeah, Majestic Eagle, you're right. Calvin, is that it feels this country will implode. Illegals, China, free college, free healthcare, rising gas prices, end of the First and Second Amendment. Oh, I did hear, okay, Calvin, I did hear some good news today, actually, with what is going on in the Senate. Is it, I wrote notes. So HR 1, which one is that? Okay, so that's when they're trying to change the election rules so that states are not in control, or something like they're trying to federalize the election process. They're also trying to, there was something in there where tax money would pay for campaigns, which I don't like at all. That's not very cool. So apparently that's basically dying in the Senate. Ending the filibuster as that is right now is supposed to be dying in the Senate. And the Second Amendment. Okay, so the most important person, I think, in the country right now, what is his first name? Mencken. Mencken from, hi from Germany, hello. Mencken from West Virginia is one of the most important people. So he is a Democrat from West Virginia, and he will not vote to put more regulations or to change the Second Amendment right now. It's him, and there is another one. Her name is Sinema. So these are two, Joe Manchin. Is it Manchin? Joe Manchin, yes, out of West Virginia. He is probably one of the most important people because he is a Democrat, but he's from basically a red state, and he has common sense. He is a commonsensical Democrat, and he also knows that his base will not be for, his constituents will not be for doing anything to the Second Amendment. So he is a really good person, and I like that. You basically, because the Democrats have the majority, you need Democrats that are going to have common sense with these things. He does not want to end the filibuster or change the filibuster. He doesn't want to do anything with the Second Amendment so far, and I think he is... Manchin acts like a conservative. Yeah, he does. But you know what the crazy thing, Majestic Eagle, the crazy thing is he does act like a conservative, but I don't think those, but really it's just common sense. But that's how radical I feel like that they have gotten is a common sense, a common sense Democrat now seems like he's conservative because that's how bonkers they've gone. West Virginia recently instituted constitutional carry, so Manchin is not going to rock the two-way vote. Yeah, okay, thank you for that, Lance. I didn't know that. Yeah, but that's what I was hearing. He doesn't want to rock that boat. And I would imagine, I can't remember, does anyone know Glenn Allen, him and Sinema are the two. Where is Sinema from again? I want to say Arizona. Am I wrong? Glenn Allen, Mark Levine wants people to call Manchin and Sinema to stay strong. Yes. They are being pressured by the liberals. I'm so glad you said that, Glenn Allen. I was thinking about saying that too. I honestly think they are the most important people in Washington right now because they are going to be that check and balance. And yes, I would say if you live in their districts, email, call them, yes, help them to stay strong and help keep them. They're going to need that because I can't imagine how much pressure you get, especially being a Democrat and going against them. It should be constitutional carry in all states. Okay, what exactly is constitutional carry? Can somebody tell us? I don't know exactly what that is. Okay, Richie, the cops here are already saying they will never go door to door and take guns. They equate it to an act of suicide. Absolutely, Rich. I was AZ. Okay, thank you, Majestic Eagle. She is Arizona, and Arizona is typically a red state. It's usually a red state when everything goes fair and square. So yeah, that makes sense for her to be a lot more. To me, that's a moderate Democrat. That's not a conservative, but yeah, that makes sense for her to have a much more common sense, moderate approach to these things. I mean, that would just. With everything that is going on right now too, let's look at California. So our border is open. We have a progressive DA. We have a progressive governor. So they're letting people, they're giving people lighter sentences. They're not holding people accountable for low-level crimes. And we're seeing crime go up. So at a time when we're in the middle of this, whatever you want to call it, we're in the middle of this situation. Our border is open now. We don't know who's coming across. These people don't have papers. You don't know their criminal history. You don't know their infection status. You don't know who they are. You don't know how old they are. A lot of people will lie. If they're on the younger side of things, a lot of people will lie and say they're a minor when they're actually not a minor, because you get more benefits being a minor and you're much more likely to be allowed to stay in the country if you're a minor. So people lie. And then it puts other kids in danger if you're putting them in school with people that, and they're not the same age, that puts them in danger. I actually had this situation when I worked in a residential facility for kids. We had an illegal immigrant and we had to take this person in because we were a state-run facility. And come to find, after having this individual for a few weeks, he became very dangerous. We found that he had a really serious charge. We also found that he, in fact, was older, or we had reason to believe, I'll say, we had reason to believe that he was a lot older than what he told us. Maybe not a lot older, but definitely older. And it was just, if he was older than 18, it would have been completely inappropriate for him to be housed with people under 18. So nobody really talks about that either. And then on top of all of that, you want to, limit people's gun rights at a time when more people are buying guns because they feel unsafe due to the increased crime, the lockdowns, the desperation that some people have right now. It's just, nobody's going to go for that. And I think more women than ever are buying protection. And here in LA, what's happening with our crime, the reason it's scary is because, if you look at my Citizen app on my phone, you'll see all around me, people are just getting robbed, just walking on the street, just randomly robbed in broad daylight. So these are completely unpredictable, completely random attacks that people are having. And everyone here is saying, well, you need to arm yourself. You need to protect yourself. So when you're taking away police, you're defunding the police, you're giving criminals lighter sentences, or you're not prosecuting them, you're opening the borders, and then you want to take people's gun rights away. That's not going to fly. And thankfully, those cops that you were talking about aren't going to, yeah, and that's the thing too. Who's going to give up their guns? Do you think the criminals are? No. The law-abiding people are the ones that are going to give up their guns. And that's how backwards, this goes in with like how backwards with your small stature, you need to pack heat. I have about 4 or 5 different weapons that I carry on me. I've been, oh, where is it? Darn. Actually, one of the coolest things I have, it's a Chinese ninja star, and it's a legit like iron ninja star that you can just throw at someone. Not that that's a practical thing to carry, but I have one. I'm not giving up anything. Yeah, and think about it. But the people that are more likely to give up their guns are already the law-abiding citizens because they won't want to get in trouble. The guns that I am all for getting guns off the street. Get the illegal guns off the street. Those are the guns that you need to get off the street more than anything. It was 9th September. It was 9th September. It was 11 past 9. It was 911. They dialed 9. No. Oh, I don't know what you're in Scotland. This lady is like, well, oh, thank you. Greetings from Scotland. Hello from Scotland. I will teach you self-defense, Sarah. Thank you. Careful with the throwing stars. It can be a troubling legal problem. I agree. That one doesn't typically go in public with me. I just keep it at home and show people because it's cool. But it really doesn't get a lot of action. Too bad I rent because I really just want to throw it at the wall so bad. Crispy, thank you so much. Has to be there. Thank you. That's really sweet. I want to practice just throwing it at the wall, but I rent, so I shouldn't do that. There goes my security deposit. Or is it worth it? I don't know. Did anyone watch President Biden today? They are really thirsting for communism, socialism, and fascism for real, Braxton says. Yeah, and that's what's scary. And there's this new thing in politics. I feel like our politicians, I was watching a documentary about California last night, and she said, the politicians are supposed to be the ones that fear the people. They're supposed to be and I don't mean like physically fear the people. I don't mean that at all. But they are supposed to be the ones that work for the people. There is a baby crying in the courtyard of my apartment building. So when you live in West Hollywood, you never see kids. You never see children. It's all just 30 somethings and 20 somethings and 40 somethings. You never see kids. So when you hear like a baby crying or a child, it's like, what is that? Um, Someone says you can practice throwing your star against trees. Try, Echo. That's a good idea. I could practice throwing my star at trees. I'm finally going to go visit my parents. I haven't seen them in over a year, and they live on a farm. I think I'm going to take the ninja star to the farm and throw it at a bunch of trees. Richie, imagine how many of these mass shootings would have been neutralized if employees in these places were allowed to have a gun. Well, that's a really interesting point that a lot of people make. A lot of the shootings happen in no gun zones. They don't happen in gun zones, which is an interesting point. Females only vote for benefits them. Men vote for what benefits all. And that's what's funny too. I remember seeing this video out of San Francisco, and so we've just all over California, we've just had an uptick in crime like that, like just random people getting robbed on the sidewalk. Remember we talked about Lady Gaga? That's basically what happened. Her dog walker was out and walking her dogs, and he got randomly attacked because French bulldogs are a hot ticket item. I want to see what happened with that reward money. So a woman returned the dogs, and I wonder if she got that reward money or not. Lady Gaga was offering, $500,000 for those dogs? And a lot of locals were upset about that too, because they felt like it's going to incentivize people to do this. They were like, why couldn't she just offer 5,000 or 10,000 or 50,000? $500,000 was offered. What's the filibuster? Oh gosh, I don't even know how to explain it. It was a scam. Yeah, that's why I want to know what's going on with that, because so this woman said she found the dogs. They were tied up to like a pole or something somewhere in an alley or something like that. So she takes the dogs to the police station. She turns them in. The police say she was completely unrelated to the taking of the dogs, but I never heard anything after that. But I mean, all they had to do was go find a woman or a family member or a friend and say, hey, just say you found these dogs and get the money. Let's split it 3 ways or 4 ways or 5 ways. I don't know. Hammerstein, the filibuster was best 120 years ago when I first started in the Senate. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Biden's press. Oh gosh. I wrote down some of the best things that he said. So Biden did his first ever press conference today. How many days in are we? Is it 58 days? I don't know, but he did his first press conference today. There were 30 reporters allowed in. There were 10 questions asked, and they appeared to be pre-approved questions, pre-approved softball questions. So it basically started with him taking full credit for Trump's Operation Warp Speed. So he took credit for all of it. He took credit for the 100, whatever. He was taking credit for everything. So there's that. He also said that, what was it? He said that he joined the Senate 120 years ago. So he's older than we thought, you guys. It's worse than what we thought. We thought he was just struggling in his 70s. Turns out he's over 120 years old. He would have to be at least 140 years old or something like that. So so that basically explains everything. If that is true, that explains a lot. There were a few times within the press conference where he just seemed to lose train of thought. He would start to say something and then just stop and stare off into space. So that was a little weird. And then there were some pictures that came out. He basically had he had a sheet of paper with him, and it had all the photos of and names and descriptions of all of the press that were in the room asking him questions. They asked him about the border crisis. Hold on, I wrote it down because I just couldn't believe. Okay, so they asked him about the border crisis, and this is what he said. He said, I should be flattered that people are coming. They know Biden's a nice guy. So he's flattered that people are surging the border. He also named Kamala Harris in charge of taking care of the crisis on the border. So Lance T said, my mom routinely filibusters when I ask her what's going on in her neighborhood. I think he's 140 years old. I mean, if he is 140 years old, that makes total sense, you guys. Like Judge Janine Pirro, oh, I really like her, said in her opening statement last Halloween, government wields power with only consent of the governed. Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. Okay, that's where I was going earlier. Yeah, so we've had this weird shift where it's supposed to be, and the way that it was supposed to be set up was, yes, the government fears the people. The government works for the people. They fear what the people think of what they're doing. So that gives them incentive to do good for the people. It's not that way now. This past year, I think we've all realized like it's made a turn, and now it's almost we are fearing the government and not the other way around, and they have become completely authoritarian. So that's a shift that needs to happen. That's why I really respect someone like Joe Manchin. He works for his people. He understands that his people want nothing to touch 2A. He understands what his people want, and he fights for them. You know, someone like Gavin Newsom, he has no idea what his people want. That's why there is a recall effort for him. That's right. 2.1 million people signed the recall because he doesn't know what his people want. It's like 40% of people in California live around the poverty line. It is almost impossible to be a regular middle class people in California, and you have to take care of your middle class. You have to take care of your middle class is the engine that runs everything. And Gavin completely disregards his middle class. He only cares about the super rich or the super poor. Does not give a crap about the middle class. And I'll give you examples. If you are a soccer mom driving your minivan and a cop sees you do something a little bit wrong, he will give you a $300, $400 ticket, right? Yet you can commit all kinds of crimes and not get anything. They give the ticket to that middle class woman because they know she's going to pay for it. They tax the middle class people because they know that they are going to take it and they're not going to do anything. And finally, people are saying, we're not going to take it anymore. You need to go. And I think for a while, people have taken it. But it's getting so bad. They're getting so radical that people have no choice. You have to stand up. Like you can't not pay attention to politics right now. That's how radical it's getting, or it'll come up and smack you in the face. Let me read some of the. Thank you. Okay. R. Stifle. A filibuster is a a parliamentary. Thank you. A filibuster is a parliamentary procedure used to prevent or block a vote on a bill by extending debate on the measure. Requires 60 out of 100 votes to bring the debate to a close by involving closure. Thank you so much for saying that. And that's also, isn't that why it's so important to keep it, especially right now when it's all a Democrat majority? Like that helps keep a check and balance in place so they don't go crazy. Braxton, Sarah, I guess dictator, what's his name, mindset is back is back in the time period because he believes that U.S. ADOS, Black people don't know how to use the internet. Oh my gosh, I saw that. Oh, and that's another interesting thing too. People were saying, they're saying that requiring ID to vote is voter suppression. Was that in HR? Was that HR 1? Was that in HR 1 too, the voter ID? So they're saying that that is suppression. Yet and they're saying that, well, this is voter suppression, and this is bad. This is against Black and brown people. This is voter suppression for them. Yet you go and ask anyone and they're like, I have no problem getting an ID. What are you talking about? I think it was Ami Horowitz does these. If you his name AMI Ami Horowitz, he makes a lot of digital shorts and puts them up on YouTube and for the Daily Wire. But one of my favorite things that he does is he'll go in New York City and he'll go in like sort of like an more of an upper class, like predominantly white area, and he'll ask them questions about people, and then he'll go into sort of a lower income, higher crime area, or he'll go into like an area like the Bronx or somewhere like that, and he'll ask them questions, and the answers are usually quite different. So in the affluent neighborhood, they say that voter ID, requiring ID to vote is it's racist, or it's it against black and brown people, and it suppresses voters. And then you go into those neighborhoods and you're like, do you know where the DMV is? They're like, yeah, it's right over there. Do you know how to get your ID? Yeah, it's not a problem. Is it suppressing? That's insulting to think that people don't know how to get their IDs. They do know how to get their IDs. And it's insulting to think that they don't. Exactly, Sarah. They just blah, blah, blah. So nothing gets done equals filibuster. Yeah, I've probably filibustered a few times in my life. I'm for the filibuster. They can even show their EBD card for, yeah, exactly. Thank you, Daybreak Angus. They can even show their EBD card for ID. Yeah, Felix, you need ID to buy booze and cigs, so everyone has one. Duh. Yeah. Rich Ernest, George Segal passed, but Chauncey the God. I think this, I don't know what this. George Segal passed, but Chauncey the gardener still thinks you are a rose politicizing. Being there, stay safe. I'm confused. Don't people need to drive, to get welfare, to buy liquor? Yeah, you would think. I'm pretty sure they do. And I actually, when I voted here in California, they did not ask for my ID. I was shocked. They didn't ask for it. I was ready to provide it and everything. They didn't ask for it. There's a new thing. So I was telling you, I had to go to the DMV yesterday to renew my license, and there is a new thing. I don't know if you guys know about this. It's called Real ID, and it's almost like a more, so it's your driver's license, and it's almost like a more secure form of that as well. And they're saying that you're probably going to need it to do domestic travel plan. Like, this doesn't have anything to do with COVID. Real ID is in effect. Daybreak Angus, do you know exactly why? They explained it to me yesterday at the DMV, but I don't know why they're doing that. It sounds like more security. Is that correct? Because I had to show her my passport. You had to show your social security card or a passport in order to have that. It almost seemed like a feature that they put. Yes, to get on federal property. Interesting. It's supposed to be backed up with birth certificate, passport, electric bill, gas bill. Interesting. Well, I signed up for it, but I had never heard of that before. What else did Biden say? Oh, yes. And I don't know if you heard about this. So the Government Accountability Office launched an investigation into Biden. So they are saying that him halting the border wall, they're saying that that was against the law. And I don't know exactly how. So they're launching an investigation. We'll see if anything happens with that. Who knows? You can't fly without real ID. Interesting. It makes it so the real ID can be counted on for true and proper ID. Wow. Was that a joke? Someone said, "What's that crawling on your shoulder?" Is my cat back there? I don't know, but it's a mess back there because I've been packing. Real ID was put on hold for COVID, but it was planned to actually take effect towards the end of last year. It's a more verified ID and will be required to fly next year unless you bring your passport. Okay. You could fly with no idea. Just kidding. I fall for everything. I do. It could have been my cat. Oh, yes. Biden also said he's running in 2024. What do you guys think about that? I don't think he knows that he's running in 2024. Republicans say if filibuster goes, they will boycott the Senate, meaning they will not show up participating in preventing anything in the Senate from getting passed. It's just not a, yeah, I don't like that. You need to keep it, especially when it's when it's a one party. And I think the same is true for Republicans. Yet Republicans had everything and they were not this radical. They didn't really do much of anything. I think because when Republicans had control of everything, when Donald Trump first got elected, I think it was because a lot of them don't like Donald Trump either. They stopped a lot of things. Richie says, yes, it's a security issue in which there are multiple people with the same name. Oh, one of my friends was detained in customs once because his name matched a known problematic person. Wow. So, speaking of same names, this is actually really sad, but I have a friend who has the same exact name of one of the people that was killed in the Colorado, the Boulder shooting, and is around the same age as this person. And their phone was getting blown up yesterday with people asking, "Are you okay?" It's really, really sad. Really sad. Oh, so you should run for office, George Segal. I know who that is. He was a great actor on Just Shoot Me with David Spade. David Spade is very funny. Biden won't make it to 2022. There's no way. Even if he finishes this term, there's no way. And his approval rating is going down. And what's so funny, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but Biden is getting it from conservatives, he's getting it from moderates, and then he's getting it from the super progressive people that don't think he's progressive enough. So he's not pleasing anyone right now, it seems like. Okay, let me read a few more, and then I think I'll try to play some bongos. You need to get back to the farm, practice your target shooting. I actually really want to go to the shooting range. I was learning how to shoot before the pandemic. I just haven't been. The shooting ranges are open. I just haven't been. But maybe I'll go there. And you hear it's so open in the farm. You hear gunshots all the time, but it's people hunting around those areas. But that's how that's how country it is. He won't even make it 1 year. I know. Uh, these stories make me grateful for my uncommon names. Yeah, my Lance, I agree. My last name is pretty uncommon. I've never had that issue. Although I'm seeing more and more people with my name with my last name. My last name is Italian. And my last name, it's even rare in Italy, so not a lot of people have it at all. I have actually, if you want to hear this, I have a funny story. This is how rare my last name is. So my extended family, they all live in Pennsylvania. So they immigrated here from Italy. They came through Ellis Island. It's actually really cool. I can still find my ancestors' names in the books on Ellis Island. Really cool. So they came into Ellis Island. They all settled up north. Well, before I was born, my parents moved to Florida, and then I grew up in Georgia. So all my extended family lives in Pennsylvania, and then I have a few that live in Virginia now. Long story. Anywho, so all my extended family lives in Pennsylvania. I have a cousin. He went to college. He went to Oberlin in Ohio. That's a music school. He is way smarter than I am. He went to Oberlin, had a full scholarship to Yale for graduate school. Very smart. So anyway, that was a while back. Long story short, I don't live on the East Coast anymore. Before I lived here, I lived in Denver, Colorado. So I'm in Denver, Colorado. This was a few years ago. I go to, I think I'm at Banana Republic or something in the mall. I'm at the mall. I'm buying some clothes. I give the cashier my credit card and she asks for my ID. Speaking of ID, so she looks at my ID and my credit card and she looks at my last name and she goes, Sansoni. She goes, I used to know a guy and his last name was Sansoni. This is the only other time I've seen this name. And I said, just out of curiosity, because I know how rare my name is. And I said, what's his name? And she told me his first name. And I looked at her and she goes, yeah, because I went to school with him in Oberlin. And that's why I asked what his name was. And I was like, what's his name? And it happened to be my cousin. So my cousin lives on the East Coast. She knew him from Oberlin in Ohio. I'm checking out at a store in Denver, Colorado, and she knew my cousin. And what prompted her to say his name was the last name. Galford's dog. My last name is Smith. It makes it hard to dox me. Well, that's an upside to having a really common last name. It's almost impossible to dox. If you're like a John Smith, it's even worse, or like a Sarah Smith. My last name makes up for it. My first name is very common. The last name is not common. I grew up with a family named Sansone. Oh, but they pronounced it the same, Sansoni? Oh, and so in first grade, did you guys ever have to take the PACER test? The PACER test, it was like this fitness little test and that you take. And so everyone starts out, you have to run back and forth and a beep goes off and you have to hit a certain line when the beep goes off. And basically it's like survivor of the fittest. So the every time you don't land on the line when it beeps, you get eliminated. So this is going on and on and on. And the last two people, it was me, Sarah Sansoni, and it was Jason Santini. So I just gave his name out, but his last name was Santini. I thought he had a cool last name too. But it was the Sansoni and the Santini who ran the longest out of anyone. Also, people need to rewatch V for Vendetta. I've been hearing about this, Braxton. Okay, so Braxton says, also people need to rewatch V for Vendetta after a modern-day world war from the UK turned into a fascist totalitarian nation, and plus guns already outlawed over there in real life. Thank you for bringing that up. I heard someone else say that the other day. So V for Vendetta. V for Vendetta. I've never seen that, but someone recently just said that. The Great Santini? Oh yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go in just a second, but I have my somebody said they wanted to see the bongos played. I don't really know how to play the bongos, and I was trying to learn. I've been lazy about them, so I'm just gonna bang on them for a few minutes. What's cool is I have no furniture in my living room, so there's some really good acoustics in there now. Hold on. I'll play the ukulele after this because I don't really know how to play. There's V for Vendetta is the foreshadow for the reality of America via UK. Click someone record. It's not okay. Have you seen that meme? It's about to get really weird in here. Have you seen that meme? So there's a meme that's going around on Twitter, and it's a guy playing the bongos, and he's singing. So he's like, I'm at the worst position. Someone said I'm the best sport. You know why? Because I'm an actress and obviously not a famous one, but I've done some acting in my day. I've done live shows and improv and stand-up and on camera and voice acting. I've done dance performances. So basically, I've embarrassed myself in front of people so many times that I just don't care. Okay. This is actually, this is, what's that song called? This is Nirvana. This is Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit. I started learning how to play that. So let me know if you can hear it. Hold on. You enjoyed your moments. Don't chalk it up to embarrassment. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. I've had so much fun, and my dad passed away when I was really young, and if that taught me anything, it's when you're on your deathbed, when you're leaving this planet, you're never gonna sit there and say, "Man, that was embarrassing," or you're never gonna think about what you didn't do. It's always gonna be what you, or you're never gonna think about what you did do. I'm sorry. If you obviously within reason, you're never gonna regret putting yourself out there or trying new things, but you're always going to regret not doing that. So that's what I try to live by. Um, Never heard it on ukulele before. That's definitely it. Oh, thank you. I can next time I'll sing for you. I just didn't have my lyrics. This is something different. It's not Smells Like Teen Spirit. Sorry, that was rusty. I haven't played this in a while. That was a little, hold on, I'm just putting it up. You can't see my ukulele wall up there. I haven't played that thing in a while. I need to get more into it. Whenever I play it, I'm like, I missed it. Never heard it on ukulele. I found my long lost brother, Vin Diesel. Is that your long lost brother? Smells like Island Spirit. I like that. Braxton, you're welcome. Also check out the South Korean pandemic film called The Flu, and compare it to what's going on now with COVID and the vaccines. Okay, awesome. So The Flu is another good film. Can I ask a question? How come you are dead set on being a blonde? I'm not dead set on it. It just kind of stuck. My natural hair color is like it's like a dirty blonde, so I brightened it up a little bit. Maybe I'll go darker one day, maybe not. Not really dead set on anything. David, there's a real great ukulele store in San Jose. I would love to go to a ukulele store. I've actually seen, so in LA, and it's sad because everything is closed, so I can't go now. In LA, there's a ukulele cafe where it's an actual cafe and they sell ukuleles, but also everyone just brings their ukulele. Can you imagine a better place than a ukulele cat? Can you imagine a happier place than a ukulele cafe? He said, haha, the Reface app really had to make no changes for me as Vin Diesel. Okay, Richie. There's another app. Let me see if I can find it. I really freaked my boyfriend out. He actually told me to never do it again. There's an app. It's called Wombo, Wombo. It's Wombo. The Wombo app, it takes your face. So you take a picture of yourself. You take essentially a selfie, or if you have a picture of yourself, you upload it. A selfie is better because of the angle that it's at. So you take a picture of yourself and then you upload it to this app. You choose a song and it'll make your head sing and dance to the song. I'll show it to you. I did one. I did one and I sent it to my boyfriend and he told me to never do it again. The Wombo. Yeah. Hold on, I'll show you my Wombo. This might freak you out. You're never going to look at me the same again. Ew! It's really. I can't get enough of it. It's so wrong. It just looks so wrong. Oh, Special K on Acid said the drum shop is better. Actually, that would be pretty cool. Majestic Eagle. Yeah, I've noticed a trend. A lot of people in LA have ukuleles. They sure do. My dad wants to learn the mandolin. Have you guys ever heard of Flight of the Conchords? They're a comedy. They're from, where are they from? I think they're from New Zealand. It's a comedy group. One of them plays the mandolin, and they do like comedy acts with the mandolin. Good to see one of your live streams. Yay! This is the first one I've caught, even though I watch your videos often. Any updates on the Newsom recall? Thank you, John. I'm so glad you're here. Oh, and I'm from Canton, Ohio. The recall. So this is what's going to happen with the recall. Was that Kellyanne Conway? Whatever that app was, it made my face very masculine. I don't know if you know that. If you notice that, it gave me a very masculine jaw. And my face is very small and feminine. Thank you, Daybreaker Angus. So this is what's happening with the recall. Ooh, I'm excited to tell you this. So it was due on, I believe it was March 17th was when it was due, and it got 2.1 million signatures. They think at the end they were still getting some in the mail that were postmarked before, so they're waiting to get all those. 2.1 million signatures. They're expecting it'll probably actually be the final number. They're expecting it to be about 2.2 million, and they only needed 1.5 million valid signatures to have the recall go in process. So now basically what's happening, so the deadline has come, so there's going to be a 30-minute grace period where they're verifying all of the signatures. Now, this is where a lot of people are worried. A lot of people are worried because they think that this is where they're going to find a lot of the signatures are not valid. And because remember, you need 1.5 valid signatures, and obviously not all of them are going to be valid. But when you take in the numbers, it's something like with the signatures, how many they need? They need so they need 1,400,095 signatures. So just under 1.5 million. But with the average rate, it's usually something like 80% of your signatures are valid. So just given those numbers, it's pretty much, you know, in case something crazy happens, which you always have to account for that, it's pretty much 97 to 98% going to go into a special election. So that's the number. And the only reason it's 97 or 98 is, of course, something crazy can always happen. And that's what a lot of people are worried about. They're worried about election integrity and things like that. But I think this is a pretty solid, they're saying it's about 97 to 98%. There will be a special election. So you have those 30 days. They're going to verify all these signatures, which they're more than likely going to have way more than what they needed. So then what will happen is it will kick off an election. And what the ballot will look like is it will have one question. It will say, do you want to recall Gavin Newsom, yes or no? So you can either say no, or you can say yes. And then if you say yes, it'll then have a list of candidates. And they do have to have at least one Democrat on the ticket. So we're hoping that a Republican gets in office, but they do have to have one Democrat on the ticket. So then you have your list of candidates and people vote on the candidate. And so that is what happened. And that will be in the fall, I believe. But they want to verify signatures, figure that, but they won't do it correctly for real voting. I know it's really frustrating, very frustrating to not. There are a few places that are doing some audits that have kind of gone under the radar. Georgia is doing some, and I think a few other states, but nobody's really talking about it. But it does that, and that's where Daybreak. That's where a lot of people are frustrated. Because they just don't trust the election process, which hopefully this will change people's minds. And I think this would be a big win. If he's recalled, I think it'll be a big win for California and a really big win, I think, for our country as a whole. And I think it'll give a lot of people a lot more hope. So I'm hoping. Yep, and quick spoilers in one scene. Braxton is talking about the movie. Okay, so Braxton is talking about, are you talking about the flu? So Braxton is still talking about the movies. Let me say, thank you, Hammerstein. He says, yep, and quick spoilers in one scene. Either police or military were so paranoid that they shot birds in the sky in mandatory shutdowns and rounded people up. Now think about that. Yes, enjoyable live stream, Sarah. Thank you. Thank you, Hammerstein. That was really nice. I was going to say something I just forgot. Who am I, Biden? I just forget. When California goes, a lot will follow after it. Yes. I want to see what happens with Newsom. I want to see what happens with Gascon. That's another one. That's another recall that's happening in Los Angeles. Our new DA, Gascon. There's an effort behind him too. Oh, and I was watching what my favorite candidate so far, I think, in California, I would say, is Major Williams. A lot of people are talking about running, and this is where it's going to get weird too. If you have too many Republicans on the ticket, that's going to water down the Republican vote. So you want to get as many people to vote Republican as possible. And there are a few people that were kind of toying with the idea of running. There's one person I know of that is for sure running, and that is Major Williams. I'm a huge fan of his. I met him one day when we had our table and we were doing, so we, myself and a few of my friends, we set up a table here in West Hollywood where we were allowing people to come up and sign the recall petition. And so he came out, actually, because one of my friends is friends with him. Major Williams came out. He stayed with us all day, which was like 4 hours. He met people. He talked to them. He has a lot of really good policies. Let me see if I can find his website, but I think he would be really good for California. But I watched an interview with him the other day, and he was saying, you know, I have had meetings. So that's where, like, our Republicans are going to have meetings, and some of them I think might have to step back and not be on the ticket so that we can have a better chance of winning this election. And what Major Williams was saying is that's important moving forward. And he's already having meetings with people discussing this and discussing the best way to move forward, the best thing to do for California. And a lot of people were throwing around the name. And I know Richard Grenell was sort of toying with the idea of running. And Major gave an excellent answer to this question. Because Richard Grenell is also someone that a lot of people love. I love Richard Grenell. A lot of people really like him. He has a big platform. He has a well-known name. He worked under Trump. So those are all really good things. But a point that Major Williams brought up, which I thought was really, really good, is someone said, Daybreaker, your video and Instagram show you supporting Major Williams. Yeah, I like him a lot. He's my favorite so far. Obviously, I want to see who is on the ticket because I want to put my vote for whoever has the best chance of getting in office as well. Does that make sense? Like, obviously, you know, policy, but you want to get like a really good Republican in office. He is definitely my favorite so far. And he's the only one who's actually been campaigning. He's been campaigning for months now. And he's the only one. He's been out there. He's been meeting people. He's been talking to people. I watched him do it. But he brought up this point about Richard Grenell. And I know some people that even watch this channel like Richard Grenell, and he said this. So right now, this recall Gavin Newsom effort, it is Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, people that are not political at all. It's just all Californians. And even in LA alone, it's 50% Democrat, 50% Republican that have signed his petition. So this is a very equal equal movement where everyone is involved. And the one thing about Richard Grenell that Major Williams brought up, and I loved his point, was that Richard Grenell is really close to Trump. Okay, so when people see Richard Grenell, they think Trump, which is a good thing in a lot of ways. But in order for a Republican to, but what he said was, who is the biggest trigger for Democrats? It's Trump. There is no bigger trigger to a Democrat than Trump. So when you have, and in order for a Republican to take the ticket, you need some Democrat votes. So Richard might not be the best candidate, maybe for that reason. So that was a point that Major Williams brought up. And I actually, it's a really good point about Richard Grenell, because those would be, if that's who was running, those would be my top two contenders. But that pushed me, I think, even more toward Major. And again, he's the one that has been out there campaigning and talking to people this entire time. Richie, Kevin Sorbo and Dean Cain say they would run for office. That way it would be Hercules and Superman trying to save the people. Let me say that again if you guys didn't hear me correctly. Richie said Kevin Sorbo and Dean Cain need to run for office. That way it will be Hercules and Superman trying to save the people. I love that. Someone said something else really funny too about the 2024 presidential ticket. They were saying, I think that, this isn't going to happen. They were saying, I think that Ron DeSantis should run for president in 2024, and Don Jr. should be on the ticket with him as his VP, and it could be Ron and Don Save America. And then he said they could also like grow out twin mullets, and like they probably wouldn't even have to campaign. They would just win just on that alone. But I like that. It could be Ron and Don Save America, and Hercules and Superman Save California. That would be very American. All right, well, I think that's everything. I'm going to go. Thank you so much for everyone that came to watch. That was a lot of fun. Next time I'll sing for you on the ukulele. I didn't do any singing, so I'll do that next time. Headline, Florida man becomes president. And before I go, Florida about a year ago or a few years ago was kind of it wasn't really, I mean, I lived in Georgia. Tell me if I'm wrong, and I don't mean to offend anyone that lives in Florida, but Florida wasn't a place that people wanted to go and live. Not a lot of people wanted to go and live in Florida, and it didn't have the best of reputations. Now, everyone is flocking to Florida. I never thought that I would see that, but I'm glad. Florida is a great state. It's very humid and hot. Does anyone on here watching have a person half as... Oh, Stop it, Jog. I'm blushing. Okay, good night, everyone. Richie, good night. I don't know if I will be able to join another live stream due to my work schedule. Okay, thank you for coming, Richie. It was fun to have you. They post afterwards too, so you could always catch it after. But thank you so much, you guys. That was a lot of fun. I will see you next week if you're around. I'm going to do them every Thursday at 5 p.m. If I ever have to change the day or something, I'll notify you before. Make sure you handle that guitar to mellow and collect yourself. Yeah, if I ever have to change day or time, I will let you know before I do that. Hi, Marsha. I didn't know you were on. I must have missed you. Okay, Marsha, bless you. All right, bye, everyone. Take care. I'll see you later. Bye.